Hi, welcome everybody to our week 4 live session for DES 114, Print Production and Color Theory. This is our last live session for this class, so it's gone by pretty quick. I'm going to see if we get a couple of people who pop in tonight, and if we do, then we will do a critique. If I don't have anybody pop in, what I will end up doing is kind of going over those slides from week 3, and we'll just go over those in some detail to make up the remainder of the class. So we'll see how it goes. We'll just kind of play it by ear and see how it goes this week. So just another reminder of my telephone hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time to 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and you can also email me outside this time. Email is always the best way to get in touch with me. I don't always answer numbers that I'm not quite sure of. There's just so many cell phone scams going on these days, and no matter how many times I put myself on the do not call list, it seems that I get telemarketers calling my cell phone regularly. So just if you need to get in touch with me, you can definitely call. It might go to voicemail. Just leave me a message or send me an email. And also just a note, I am located in Eastern Standard Time, so please be aware of the time zone change when you are trying to reach me. If you email me later at night and you live in California, I probably won't see it till the next morning. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to go over announcements, and then we're going to do a review of some of the things that we've gone over during this mod. So we're going to go over the CRAP principles of design. We're going to go over changing colors from spot to process colors. We're going to go over preparing a document for print through packaging. We're going to take a look at our week 4 final assessment and discuss those final print-ready files. And then if I get anybody in here, we'll do a critique. And if not, we'll go over the slides from week 3 that I've given you to read on your own. So, a reminder about due dates. This course has been rewritten, so I know some of your courses may not have a week 4 discussion, but this course does have a week 4 discussion. So the original discussion post is due Saturday by midnight. Hi, I'm glad that we have somebody here. Hi, Lawrence. If you want, we're going to be doing a critique later, so if you can stay for the entire time, if you don't mind helping me do that critique, that would be awesome. All right, great. Great. So, that's good. That kind of takes care of that. I was a little bit worried about that I'd just be sitting here reading some slides tonight, so that's awesome. Yes, so we have a week 4 discussion, and the original post is due Wednesday by midnight, so please make sure that you are doing that. All late assignments and assessments are due by Saturday, and your week 4 assignments cannot be turned in late. Remember, the course turns into a pumpkin, and it will lock you out, and you will not be able to upload. And also, please don't wait until the last minute to upload. When you stop and think about it, everybody is submitting their work. Everybody in the college, not just the graphic design students, but everybody in the college is uploading their work for their course, Saturday at midnight, because this is week 4. So the server can tend to get bogged down. So please don't wait to upload that, you might get locked out while it's uploading. So please upload your work early in the day if you can. Also, if you are planning on doing a redo of a previous assignment because you are not happy with your grade, all redos are due no later than tomorrow, Tuesday at midnight. After that, I will not be regrading any submissions for week 1 through 3. If you have not submitted work from week 1 through 3, I will grade, but anything that you are trying to redo for a better grade and I allow you to redo something once, that needs to be posted by tomorrow at midnight. Tomorrow is also our final multi-session from 4 to 6 p.m. So if you are running into any problems, please make sure that you are logging in and coming to that multi-session tomorrow. This will give you some ample time during the week to get your assignment done. And if you do need any outside help, the Student Success Center is open with tutoring available, and there's no appointment necessary. On that note, let's pop over into the course and take a look at our announcements. Because I have Christy's hours for this week. So let's take a look at her flyer for this week. All right, so Christy has hours from 12 to 7 p.m. on Wednesday, 4 to 9 p.m. on Thursday, and 12 to 3 p.m. on Friday. And all of her times are Mountain Standard Time. So you'll have to do the time zone conversion if you are not in Mountain Standard Time. So again, between Christy and I, we have hours available Monday through Friday this week. If you're running into any problems on Saturday, just log into the Student Success Center. There will definitely be people on, in there that will be able to help you out. And I think that was it. I did not hear from anyone saying that they did not wish to have their work critiqued today. I had posted an announcement on our critique on Friday. And I believe that that's really the only two pertinent announcements. Let's take a look, though, while we're over here at our discussion for this week. So this week we are once again working with that client from week 3, and I really like these discussion posts for the last 2 weeks because these are things that you're going to run into out in the field. So they're very relatable to our careers, to the career of graphic design. So for this week, we're working with that same client, and you've gotten the job from them. So awesome. And you have recreated their logo as a vector file. You are now ready to move on to work on brochures, billboards, and more. The owner of the company points you to their website once again for some assets, telling you that the website is the only place that they have those photos. And believe me, you may think that this is never going to happen. This happens to me daily, that I hear from clients that, oh, the only place that I have those photos are on my website. The only place that I have my logo is on my website. So believe me, you are going to run into things like this. So for your initial post, you need to address the following questions. Will those photos work for the project that you have been hired to do? Why or why not? How do you explain your dilemma to the client? And how does lossy and lossless compression figure into this? So you're going to need to read up and watch the YouTube video on lossy and lossless compression to be able to answer these questions. So for your citation, you might want to use articles that describe lossy versus lossless compression, print versus web resolution and color, or which file type is best for which job. There's so many resources out there that you can find. When you are looking at your fellow students' discussion posts, discuss the effectiveness of their response. You might consider addressing questions such as what points came across well and which need further explanation, what might help clarify their points, and can you share resources that you found in your research that might be helpful to clarify a point? Because a lot of you are going to end up going to different resources to be able to answer those questions. So again, if you see that your fellow student has really researched this topic and you completely understand it after reading their post, see where their cited resources are from and consider bookmarking those resources. These are all different things, between, reading other students' responses and seeing where they're going for their information and just kind of saving that for yourself. You're kind of building a toolbox for yourself to be able to use in the future when you meet with clients. Because again, like I said, running into a client who says that they only have their logo or they only have their photos on their website, it's definitely going to happen. You'll probably also run into a client who took a picture with a cell phone that they got in 2003 and they don't know why they can't use that photo. So there's so many things that you will end up running into when you talk to clients. And most of the time, they don't understand, they're not the graphic designer, and that's not their chosen career. Maybe they own a pizza shop. They can make a great pizza, but they don't understand taking a photo, so that's where you come in. So, and your wealth of knowledge is going to be the reason why they hire you. So really, it does make sense to understand, understand this stuff and be able to relate it to them. So remember that your post needs to have one APA citation. It should be at least 150 words. So make sure that you're posting by Wednesday night, and you're submitting, that you're posting 2 times, twice a week, and posting to 2 of your fellow students' discussion posts as well. So that is our write-up, our discussion for this week, and I'll get into our final campaign in a moment. But I also wanted to point out that for week 4, there is also a week 4 assessment quiz. It's worth 35 points, and there's 11 questions. So it's going to go over all of the different learning objectives that we've covered this mod. So you'll need to take that quiz. And then there is also the week 4 career integration quiz. So I really appreciate these quizzes. The reason why is, I read over all of your responses, and if, I have a lot of students who say, hey, this was really helpful to me the way this was taught. I make sure that I do those things in my future classes. And then if somebody had a problem with the way I taught something, like they found something confusing, I definitely take that to heart as well. In the past, I didn't realize that I was using quick keys, because that's how I do design, and that's how I've always done design. So I made sure, to be aware that I was doing that, and to try to catch myself. Sometimes I do it by accident, but to try to catch myself and stop myself from using quick keys. So that way, I can show you in the drop-down menu, or I can tell you what the quick key is. So I really do read your responses, and I get a lot from the week 4 career integration quizzes. And I know a lot of other instructors, they read the responses as well, and they try to make sure that, they cater the way that they teach to what works for the students. So that's why, I do a lot of demonstrations and things of that nature, because I've gotten some great feedback from doing these demonstrations. So I try to make sure that I teach that way, because it seems as though it's helping you guys understand the concepts a little bit better, understand the programs a little bit better, and know how to put together those assignments and those assessments. So really take the time to answer those 3 questions, because it's super helpful to me as an instructor. And last but not least, don't forget to do those daily checkpoints this week. Again, finish this week strong. Definitely try to finish this week strong. And if you are in the path of Tropical Storm Harvey, if you are able to watch this, if you're able to let me know, please let me know. I'm not 100% sure what the school is going to be doing regarding late work because of that. I don't have any control over the courses closing, but if you are in that affected area, and I have a list of students, it was just sent to me right before our class started, that the school is aware of, based on if you have, based on what you have down for your address and your phone number in the school system. I'm going to go through that list, and I will try to reach out to students if they're in that list to try to speak with you. Again, as soon as I find out any information from the school regarding what they might be doing, I will post an announcement, and I'll try to let you know. I can try to text people if that's a better way to get in touch with you. I know that it's mostly Texas and Louisiana at this point that are affected. So, definitely stay safe. And my heart goes out to everybody who's in that affected area. I've been watching the news nonstop, and it's horrendous watching what's going on. So I just want to make you aware that I'm going to do everything I can to find out information for you regarding submitting late work and things of that nature after week 4. If this was like week 2, I could definitely work with you, but I don't have any control over the course closing. So I'm going to see what I can do on my end and find out as much information as I can. All right, so let's get back into our slideshow for the week. So we were going over and doing a review of that CRAP principles of graphic design. So the C in CRAP stands for contrast. So if 2 elements are different, make those differences striking. So I think that this is a good example of that. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. So in the Mad Men poster, we have black and white, and then we have this bold red. There is a ton of high contrast in this poster, and it was definitely achieved by using illustrations or vector art rather than images and raster art. So this is a great example of contrast. And I always tell my students, if you haven't watched the series Mad Men, I think it's a great series to watch as a graphic designer because it takes place in the 1960s if you're not aware of the show. But it really emulates, how graphic design was back then, and they really delve into the creative and the art department and all of that, and it's such a cool show to watch from a graphic design perspective. So I really suggest it if you haven't seen it. I believe it was on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still up there, but definitely check it out. Then the R in our CRAP principles of design is repetition. So use repeated elements to direct, organize, and structure. And you can see, the vertical and the vertical lines and the slanted lines in this series of business cards really is a great use of repetition. It kind of ties the whole design together, makes it nice and cohesive. Then we have A, which stands for alignment. So line up elements to create visual structure. That's where your grid would come in. And every grid will be different based on what it is that you are designing. But, think out your grid before you just start slapping things down on the page. Alignment really is key. You want to line up those elements because that visual structure, you as a graphic designer can basically cause the reader's eye to go in a certain direction. There's one thing that I learned when I was doing direct mail, and I'm going to just kind of close this down for a quick second, and I'm going to hop into InDesign real quick so I can do a quick example for you. But I used to design coupons that came in the mail, and what we were taught is how the eye moves around the page, and it actually moves in a specific direction. So what we were taught is placement of certain items on the page in a certain way. So I'm gonna do a quick demo of that for you because we never really notice it as designers until we were told this. And then as soon as we were told it, we couldn't not see it. It was one of those things where you're like, now that I've been told this, I can't help but see this when I'm designing something. So the basic size, this is the basic size of one of our coupons that we used to design. So what they had told us is when you are placing, the eye moves in a circle. So let me just grab a quick image. And actually, this is like the worst of all the images, but that's okay. Just grab that, put that here. Then going to, oops. Do this real quick. it's been a minute since I've designed a coupon. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't worked there in a while. But if memory serves me correct, this is how I used to set them up. And you'll notice that when you place things in InDesign, especially like an Illustrator file, it does end up placing it based on the size of the artboard. So that's kind of like a new thing that InDesign's doing. It used to place it differently. Sometimes when they do their updates, I'm not always 100% happy with the updates. So it's one of those things that I guess it is what it is. But it is what it is now until they change, InDesign again. Oops. So this is just a quick design that I'm doing to kind of give you, I'm going to pick a horrible font for a second because I'm trying to whip my way through this. All right. So what they told us is your eye tends to start over in the right-hand corner and work its way around like this. So you want it to draw in, and again, this isn't like the best image for that, so I'm going to pick a different one so I can fully make my point. You want to draw in the reader and make them, look where you want them to look and see what you want them to see. So this is a better image. So I've got this kayak guy here. So my reader is going to see, this image. Then they're going to see all of the different deals that they can get if they come and, kayak at Aqua Excursions. But then they're going to see where we're located, and then they're going to read my headline. So their eye is kind of going to go like this. So what I want to do is I want to make sure I have an image to draw in the reader. Then I want to have, my best offer probably either right here or right here. And then they're going to read in order. Then they're going to see, if my offer is good, where I'm located, then they'll read the rest of my copy. So I want my reader's eye to go here, here, through here, to here, and then down here. So I'm setting up a visual hierarchy of my information that I want them to see. Because if I've drawn them in by my offer in my picture, they're going to see where I'm located, and they're going to call my phone number, and, the headline might draw them into saying what it is that I do. But any other, information, I can kind of bury that's not that important kind of in the middle over here, or bury it in the middle over here. So that's what I do as a graphic designer. I'm aware that the eye first travels to the upper right-hand corner, and that it tends to go clockwise around the page. So that's why I set things up a certain way when I'm designing, because I want to trick my reader into seeing what I want them to see. So these are some tips and tricks that you can do when you're, designing posters, when you're designing brochures. Even though this is just an example of a coupon, it works the same for almost anything. The eye kind of always tends to start in the upper right-hand corner. So you want to make that part of your design interesting, because if you make it interesting enough, the viewer is going to look at the rest of your at the rest of the design and see what it is that you want them to see. So there is a way that you can set it up as a designer, and your client may say, hey, this really works, and they don't know why it works, but you know why it works. So that's a little tip I have, and that has to do with alignment as well. Alignment comes in and proximity comes in. It all factors into that crap principle of design, where you're putting things on your page and why it matters. So I just wanted to do a quick little demo to kind of show you, something that I learned years ago, which I have found has been really helpful in my career, and, kind of pass it on to you guys. So we'll move on. Sorry for the little segue into that, but I thought it seemed like a good time to kind of show you that. So lining up those elements, creating visual structure, putting things in certain places, that lends us into proximity. Clumping together related elements so their spatial relationships are organized and emphasized. So you notice at the bottom, I had all of my coupon offers together at the bottom. That's proximity. I don't want to put, one in the upper left-hand corner over here, one down here, one over here, the eyes going all over the page. I want related items together. It's going to make easier readability for my viewer. It's going to make my design more cohesive, and it's going to make my design work. All right, so here's some more graphic design tips and tricks. Fonts. Limit the number of fonts on your page. Text that is on top of a high contrast background is difficult to read. So if you think of those complementary colors, think of where the two colors that you're selecting are on the color wheel. There's a reason why we did that color wheel as our first assignment. You should keep referring back to that when you're trying to make color choices and find choices that work well together. Then we have that KISS principle, which is keep it simple, stupid. Simple designs can be beautiful designs. Think of some simple designs that you have seen. I always think of Apple posters from back in the day. I can show you a couple of examples. Hold on, let's try to look at some larger ones. Look at how simple this design is. This one. I remember this when this computer came out. Just to think different. The Steve Jobs poster. Their designs have always been extremely simplistic in how they work. Another company that has, or used to at least have, very simple designs are the Volkswagen posters. I used to put the Volkswagen posters up on the wall at work because it gave me great design inspiration. So here's some vintage ones. Very simple, very clean and simple design. So if you're ever looking for some inspiration and you're like, all right, I know that my design I've gotten a little bit too out there with it, and I don't know how to make it more simple. I'm not quite sure what to do. Look for inspiration places. Think of some companies that you know of that you've seen their work and that it does work. And then, check out some of their posters and look at what it is that they're doing. One big, large image, good headline, nice logo without, even spacing between the body copy and the logo. So nothing is getting all cluttered on the page. Good breathing room around the different elements on the page. These are all of the things that will keep that design simple, which equals better readability. And then, there's going to be times that you're going to end up breaking the rules as well, and the design will work. But I'm a big proponent of, if you're going to break the rule, you need to understand the rule first. And I believe that there are times that the rules should definitely be broken, and some of the best design decisions have come when the rules are broken. But I think you have to understand that rule first before you go around breaking it. All right, colors. Limit your colors. Pick a color scheme. High value colors are high contrast, but also easy to class. So it's easy to say like, hey, you know what? Like this red is a great symbol for this. This yellow can signify this. Understanding why certain colors are used in certain situations. Stand out. Make your design unique, distinct, and easily recognizable. So again, think Nike, Apple, Volkswagen, simple and recognizable designs. That's why those designs work. All right, so here's just another reminder on how to convert spot to process colors. So I took some screenshots and I'm going to post these slides for you so that way if you kind of forget after watching the live session or you're like, oh, I'm going to have to pause this and try to figure out how to do that or go back to that point in the video, you can just reference back to the slides. That's why I always share my slides with you in the announcements. So this document that I took a screenshot of currently has two spot colors, a green and a purple. So you can see right here, let me see if I can zoom in. Maybe not. There we go. All right, so you can see the little spot in the middle. That's how you can tell that it is a spot color. Oh, how does one zoom out on this? Let me see. Oh, there we go. I've never zoomed in before on Google Slides. So that's how you can tell that it's a spot color, is it shows that little dot in there where it would normally be this gradiated box. So what you need to do, oh, and I had a zoomed in slide, go figure. Again, so you can see it a little bit better. Here's the dot, and then here is your CMYK breakdown. So even though it shows the four colors right there, it shows a dot next to it, and that's how you can tell it's spot color. So that would end up as an extra plate when you are outputting that PDF and sending that PDF out to press. So what you want to do is you can select both of the swatches at the same time right in your swatch library. And then you're going to go to your swatch options, which are right here, this little symbol with the 4 lines. And you're going to go down to swatch options. And then you want to change where it says spot. You want to change it to process. And then just hit OK. And that'll change it to CMYK into a 4-color process color. So you'll notice in your swatches that once you've done that, that dot goes away and you have that gradient and it looks like all of your other CMYK colors. So there is also a way that you can check to make sure that you've changed all of those colors before you make that PDF. So you can go to Window, then go to Output, and Separations Preview. And it's going to show you how your plates are separated, which is what would be sent over to press. Each color, CMY and then K for black, gets separated out, and that is sent to the press. And they put each of those plates on the machine in a different spot, and then the ink hits each plate. So much cyan goes on the plate, so much, or goes on the paper, so much magenta goes on the paper, and then so much yellow, and then so much black. So if you have an extra plate, like that green spot or that purple spot color, if you haven't changed that and you're only supposed to have a 4-color output, the printer may take those 2 plates and just throw them away, which means information, if your logo was on that plate, that means your logo won't print. So that's why it's so important to do this correctly when you're sending those files over to a printer. Because if you send the files over wrong as the graphic designer and you say, hey, this is ready to go, and then you have that printed for your client, it's going to be on you if it's printed incorrectly, and you're going to have to eat those costs. And that can get really, really pricey. So again, you can check it right in InDesign. You go to Window, Output, Separations, Preview, and it will show you if you have extra plates. See how right here I have a green spot plate and a purple spot plate? That means that I have not changed my colors to CMYK. I should only have 4 plates. So that's with spot colors and without. So you can always check that before you make that PDF file. You should definitely get into the habit of doing that. So here's the things that you should also check when you're preparing those documents for print. Spell check, spell check, spell check, spell check. Even if your client has typed out the information in a Word document for you, do them a solid and spell check for them. Believe me, if you can go back to them and say, hey, you sent me this document and it looks like this word and this word were misspelled, please let me know. I can definitely change that for you. You look like the hero who went above and beyond and double check their stuff for them. Also, check those colors every single time. Check for missing links. Those are your images, because if those are missing, your image can print looking like it's low res, even though it is high res. Check for missing fonts. If fonts are missing, they can drop off, and what will end up happening is InDesign will just substitute your fonts with a default font and your whole design will look off. And also check and make sure that all bleeds and marks are set up correctly and that you've output your PDF with those bleeds and marks on there. So again, spell check, always spell check a project before saving. Make sure all mixed colors are CMYK, including colors from imported files. Identify and remove all unnecessary colors from the swatches panel. You can just delete them. You can add unnamed colors to the swatches panel by using the swatch contextual menu. That's that drop-down menu. Spot colors should be converted to CMYK. Spot colors are identified as spot colors with the dot inside the square next to the color name in the swatch palette. Links, again, look for images in the links palette. Make sure all of your images are in CMYK mode. So you're going to have to go into Photoshop to change the mode from RGB to CMYK. All Photoshop images should be at least 300 ppi at actual printed size. Effective PPI, as shown in the links palette, should be at least 300, but not too much bigger. But honestly, bigger is better. Remember that. Photoshop images should be saved as a TIFF, a PSD, or a JPEG, and you want to try to eliminate layers from your TIFF files because it makes them so big. So use LZW compression to make those file sizes smaller, and only use a PSD file when necessary if you have a transparency, some technical blends or masks, on the file. Fonts, make sure all fonts are free of any problems in the Find Font menu box. Convert troubled fonts to outlines, and I can kind of show you that right now. If it's the same thing, it's the same thing as converting the fonts to outlines in, I hope I didn't lose you guys. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't lose you guys. I noticed that it bumped me out on my iPad for a second. So it looks like I'm back up, but I don't know if I went down for you or if my iPad just went down. So converting those fonts to outlines in InDesign kind of does the same exact thing as it does in Illustrator. It takes care of having any font issues when you send it off to the printer. But always make sure that you have a version that you have saved with the original text so you can go back and make any edits. So all you need to do is with the black arrow tool, select the text box and go up into Type, Create Outlines. And the font is no longer a font, it is now outlined, and it's not a font anymore. It's just basically a vector image. If you do it by accident, you can just Command Z and bring it back to being a font. All right, here we are, yeah. Make sure I'm on the same slide. I got a little bit concerned when I saw my iPad bump off. All right, bleeds and marks. Make sure any item that needs to bleed off the page extends at least 1/8 of an inch off the document. When exporting as a PDF, make sure bleeds are set to at least 1/8 of an inch in the marks and bleeds section after clicking save when you're exporting an Adobe PDF. Make sure all printer marks are selected. Do not use the default document settings because it won't export it with the printer marks. And when you are sending those files over to the printer, make sure you package that InDesign file and then zip it. So you want to make sure everything's all set, you're ready to go, save the document, then go to File, Package. This will create a new folder where a copy of your InDesign file is placed, along with a folder containing your fonts and another folder containing your links. So I'm going to do a demo of that again, but most of you guys seem to have that down this mod, which is awesome. So again, I've created this coupon that I need to send to the printer. So I ended up getting my image from one place and my logo from another place. I've got all these random fonts and everything else. So I'm going to need to save this first because I didn't do that. Just going to put it in week 4 demo. There we go. And I'll just name it demo. Then I'm going to do a file, package, and I'm going to double check. All right, I have 2 fonts. Nothing's missing. It looks good. Links and images. Nothing's missing. Nothing is using RGB color spaces. And if it is, it'll show up in here. Colors and inks, I've only got 4. And those 2 I can go by. I'm going to hit package. I'm going to hit continue. And go back to the folder I was in. Sometimes it doesn't remember where you were, which I really hope that they would work on that. Say okay. And close. And sometimes it'll ask you, do you want to save it again? Yeah, sure. Why not? And there we go. And here it is, my demo folder. So I've got IDML, I've got INDD, and I have a PDF with my marks and bleeds because that is what I have set at this moment as my default when I package my file. Then I have my fonts right there and all of my links. So I would then zip this, right click on it, and compress it, and I would send that over to the printer. And I lost my, oh, I forget how to get it back. I lost my, whatchamacallit. Where are you? Let's show all windows. Where'd you go? Sometimes if you tab out of Chrome while you are in your slideshow for some reason, it will, I'm just going to quit Chrome and start this over again. I'm never going to find my slide. Oh, there, it came back for 1 second. It'll move your slideshow over and off the screen. And I'm like, that's a really horrible idea. So let me just get that back up for everybody. Hold on 1 second. I also got to bring up the class as well. I just have my screen paused so that way, in case when I go into the course, I don't want anybody's grades or anything showing. All right, there we go. There we go. And we're back in, and where was I? Print spot, check your PDF, prepare your document. All right, yes. All right, so zipping it. So again, make sure that you're just double checking everything over, create a PDF and place it in your package folder. You can do this in InDesign by going to File and Export. And again, like I said, I had a preset that I made and I saved We had done this in week 1 when I was showing you how to package. So if you need to go back and kind of rewatch that video, that's where I go over that. Or you can Google it, where you can set a preset. Next, you're going to zip that package folder, which also contains your PDF, by selecting the folder in the Finder and then compressing it like I showed you. And then you would upload that to Canvas, or you would send that job to the printer. You know, the same way that you're submitting your files for your assignments is the same exact way that you would submit a file to a printer to be printed. All right, so let's go over assessment 4. And then, because I have 2 of you guys here, which is great, we can do a critique. So what we're doing for week 4 is you need to incorporate design and technical revisions per my feedback on your grades. So what you need to do is go back into your week 2 poster, your week 3 brochure, and your week 3 signage that you made. Read over the comments that I have given you when I graded it, and you need to make those changes before you resubmit your files to me. Another thing that you need to do, so let's say that you got a 100 on your poster and you got a 100 on your brochure. You still have something that you need to do. Each of those images that we used when we created the poster and the brochure, we saved them as JPEGs. So what you need to do is you need to go into Photoshop, open up those JPEGs that you used, and you need to save them as either a TIFF or a PSD file, and then you need to relink them in InDesign. So you're going to need to link them back up, and then you are going to need to repackage those files and resubmit them, because me, being the printer that I am, I can't take JPEGs. I can only take a TIFF or a PSD file. So that's what you're going to need to do for this week. So even if you go to 100, you still have to go in and you still need to fix those images and relink that. So make sure when you are doing your poster and your brochure that all of your images are converted to the correct color model. They're placed at the correct resolution for print. They're not scaled above or below the industry standard, and that was listed in the previous assignments. All images are saved with that appropriate file type, and the bleeds are correctly implemented. Hold on one second. Margins and gutters are properly positioned. So everything has been set up correctly. Make sure that you do that. And then for your signage, make sure that logo and text colors are correctly set for spot. So some of you might have had CMYK. You need to go in and you need to set that up as spot colors, and that your aspect ratio, so that 10 inches to 4 inches, because it was 10 foot by 4 feet, is now 10 inches by 4 inches. Make sure you have that correct. I believe everybody had that correct this week. And all of the elements are properly created and fully scalable for enlargement. And then there was one other thing that we needed to go over that I wanted to show you. Because the verbiage, the way it's set up in the assessment is, let me find it. It says that you need to upload a web-friendly PDF of your campaign to your Behance site. The problem is that Behance does not allow you to upload PDFs. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to upload a JPEG to Behance. And I just want to go over that with you. And then you need to email your FPA with a link to the project and CC me with that link. So you're going to have to email both of us. You can send us both an email in one email. Make sure, again, that you're keeping all of your native files you use to create your projects in this course for possible revisions after this course is ended. The zip folder of your final version from the package file InDesign creates is pretty good. You'll also need to keep them for your portfolio or your capstone classes. So make sure you don't delete these assignments because you're going to need them in classes later on. All right, so let me, that demo that I just did has a PDF in there. So I'm going to show you how to make a JPEG out of this PDF. I'm just going to open up my PDF in Acrobat. All right, so I'm going to do File, Export to, Image, JPEG. This is the easiest way to make that JPEG from your PDF. And I would put it outside of, it's going to want to save it right into the same folder where all of your other stuff is. So I would just put it in, you know, maybe a different folder for week 4 named Behance. Again, keep everything together. There we go. All right. And then I'm going to open up my Behance account. I'm just going to pause my screen because I don't know if I need to log in. So just hold on one second while I do that. All right, great. For once, I was actually paused. I was actually logged in. All right, so this is how I have my Behance set up. I like to put all of my different work into specific projects. So if I was you, I would make a project specifically for this class and, you know, name it DES 114, print and production, print production color theory. I'm like, what is our class called? I know it's DES 114. So that way you can keep all of your items together. I think that that's probably going to be the best way to set up your Behances, and it'll give it some order as well. So the way to do that is, oh, I'm not signed in. I just went to my actual Behance sites. All right, hold on. Hold on one second. Let's see if that does it. All right, good. All right. And it still looks exactly the same when you're logged in or you're not, because I was like, wait a minute, how do I add a thing? All right, so you're going to create a project. And it will say, you know, upload files, text, embed, Lightroom, CC files, PhotoGrid. Just go to upload files and find where you put those JPEGs. That's why putting everything in a folder is good. Just hit open, and you'll notice that it uploads that JPEG. I had done this last time, and I made a you know, web ready PDF and realized that Behance does not allow you to upload PDFs. It wanted a JPEG. So I kind of had to on the fly do this. So I wanted to make sure I went over that with everybody. And then what you can do also is you can add some text saying what this is. So, you know, explain the project. This is coupon demo from DES 114. And then just hit save. You know, you can upload multiple files at once. Save it, continue. And it's going to want you to add a project cover image. Make a cover image. You know, maybe make a image that will work like in this kind of a rectangle. Like, you know, take a screenshot of the dimensions, like, you know, where the image will fit, and make yourself a custom image to put there. For this, I'm just going to upload my demo image again. Move it over maybe. do that. There we go. Oops, cancel. I'll give my project a title, so DES 114. Again, you'll have to give it a title over here, and then I'm going to crop and continue. And then, you know, you're going to have to do all of this. How would you categorize this project? Graphic design, tools used, you know, add, you know, Adobe InDesign, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, things like that. Because when people are searching you out, you know, Behance is a great thing that you can send off as your portfolio to prospective clients, prospective employers. So you really want to make sure that you're really filling things out, because, you know, that's going to help you when they're like, oh, all right, so this person knows how to use InDesign, they know how to use Photoshop, they know how to use Illustrator, because they use all of these different, you know, different programs in order to put this together. You know, if somebody else worked on the project with you, you guys shouldn't have had anybody else work on it. If there's anything copyright, if this contains adult content, and then you would save or publish it. So just hit save. But you want to make sure that you publish it when you're done. And if you accidentally hit save, you can just hit continue and then kind of go through it again and hit publish. So that's how you are going to put that together. And then after you have done that, what you can do is send me a link to your actual Behance profile. So if you hover over your name and you go to Behance profile, I don't want to save this. You can send me just a link. It should be, you know, Behance.net, and then whatever your username is, and send that to me and send it to your FPA, and that's part of your grade for week 4. So that's how you're going to upload this stuff to your Behance site. So again, make sure that you're reading over everything in the assignment, and you're converting everything. You're making sure that you're changing those JPEGs to TIFF files, doing all of the things that you need to do before you submit this, because there won't be any going back, because, you know, it's our week 4 submission. And again, this is going to be, you know, each of these projects is a potential project that you can show an employer. So make sure you're putting your best design foot forward this week. It really matters. Like I've said before, these are projects that you're definitely going to do as a graphic designer. There are going to be so many times that you're going to design brochures, that you're going to design posters, that you're going to have to, you know, colorize logos, you know, even put together signage. So really make sure that you're taking your time and you're doing your best design work. Don't just slap something together and submit it. You're really only doing a disservice to yourself. So, you know, I can't state that enough, how important these assignments are in this class. So make sure, you know, that you're also uploading those zip files, everything else. And if you have a question, please, you know, get in touch with me early on in the week so I can help you out. And come to the multi-session tomorrow if you're having some technical difficulties with this. All right. So I think I went over everything here, which means that we are to the point of doing our critique. Why don't we take a quick 5-minute break, and when we come back, we will do our critique. My allergies are awful tonight, so I just really need to grab some water and blow my nose real quick. So it's 6:57 my time. We will come back at 7:02, and we'll start that critique. Does that sound good? All right, awesome. I will see you in 5 minutes. All right, so we are back and we are ready to do our critique. What I had done is I put together the files that the PDF files that you guys have submitted for last week's assignment. I had to think for a second. I put together the brochures. And if you submitted your work late, there's a chance that it did not make it into the critique. So if you don't see it here, that's the reason why. If even if you had let me know that you were going to be submitting it late, that's okay. It's just that I didn't get a chance to download it and add it to our critique. So that's why. I just wanted to let you know. All right, so the way that this critique is going to work is, we definitely want to give constructive feedback. I think it's one of the things that happens in this career every single day when you put your work out there, whether you know it or not, it's getting critiqued. It's being critiqued by your client, it's being critiqued by your boss, it's being critiqued by the person who picks it up from the printer and walks it over to your desk. Somebody always has something to say about the design. So one of the great ways to give really good feedback is to actually use this method that's called the sandwich method. So you start off by focusing on the strengths, what you like about the item in question. Then you provide, your constructive criticism, things that you didn't like or areas that could use some improvement. And then lastly, you round off the feedback with a reiteration of the positive comments that you've made. That's okay, no worries. And to give the positive results that can be expected if this criticism is acted upon. So remember, if you're providing criticism, you should also provide an idea for improvement. So if you don't want to talk, that's okay. No worries at all. Do you mind typing your part of the critique in the chat and I can read it out loud, what you think, and you'll remain anonymous? All right, awesome. Otherwise, I can't do a critique by myself. So, all right. So let's take a look at the first one. All right. So here is our first submission. So this is side 1, and we have side 2. So while you are typing up your critique, what it is that you like and what you think can be improved upon in the chat box, I will give my critique, and then that'll give you time to type up, and then I can read what you've typed out loud. So that's how we'll play this tonight. All right, so first things first, what I like about this submission. I really like the color scheme. I think that the blues, the yellows, and the pinks, it all really works together. It's really fun. It's very vibrant of a color scheme. I think that it all, comes together really well, especially now that we have these kayak images that we're using. So you can see that, the logo colors and the colors that are part of the brochure have definitely been pulled from the images, and it's a really cohesive design because of that. Side 2 as well, the color scheme carries over from side 1 to side 2, and the images just all work well together. I think that there was a really great choice of images that were chosen for this. I like the font decisions for the headline font. I think it works well with the body font and with the logo. So everything, definitely works well together. Now on to my critique of what I think can be done or can be fixed. As a rule, body copy should really be left justified. It's easier for the reader to read it when it's left justified as opposed to center. It's the way that this is called a rag. It's the way that it rags from line to line. It's a little bit difficult for the eye to kind of follow along when it's large amounts of text are center justified. So I think that left justified will really take care of that problem. Also, I can see why this panel, the font is smaller, but sometimes if you have to bump it down like a half of a point size, it's not that big of a deal, but it's really noticeable there. So I think that this can be remedied, and I would fix the spacing between these two lines of text. I think that that'll give you some more room to bump up this font size. And, you have this image bleeding, and I think that that really works. So what you might be able to do is move this image down lower so you can get this font size to match. And then inside of the circle, using your white arrow, you can kind of bump this kid up a little bit closer to the top of the frame so he's not, way down here. And I think that that'll kind of take care of that, and it will, kind of give you some more space on that panel to be able to make that font size larger. The same goes for side 2. I think, just fixing that centered text will fix that. And otherwise, I think that is about it. So, all right. So I am going to read the critique in the chat. Positives: likes the color scheme, the way that the white box fades on the right side. I don't like the white boxes on the left where it cuts off abruptly. Let me see. Is that... Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So this has a nice subtle fade over here. You would like to see a little bit more of a subtle fade over here. Okay, so that way it's uniform. I can see that. It might be a little bit tricky, but it can probably be done. Just maybe if you start that fade even just like right here, so you can kind of visually see the fade, and then right here. There was an agreement about the spacing in the left justify, and then really liking the circles. I think I do too. I really like the circles. I think that was a good creative choice for placing those images. I agree, instead of just putting them in squares, or placing them the way that they are. It definitely made the design fun. So I definitely agree. This is a kayak tour brochure. You definitely want to make it fun. So awesome. All right, so we'll close this one out, go to the next one, and we'll do the same thing. I'll give my critique while you type out your critique. Oh, I think this is yours. You can create you can type out a critique of yours if you want. All right, so so let me do my critique. So again, we have side 1 and side 2. I really like the color scheme that was chosen, especially, aqua excursions, nice blue colors, and I like the pictures that were chosen as well. This really works well with the sky up here. Same back here, nice big colorful image in the background. And then we have, the white text overlaying the blue. I think that makes it easier. Okay, no worries. That makes it easier to read the text. So I definitely like that. One of the things that I would fix is I think that the logo's getting a little bit lost on this blue background. I think that there needs to be a background here, because that gray in the water is probably too dark for the logo to just sit on. So there might be a better color choice, maybe like this yellow, or even kind of like a lighter gray. Maybe if you wanted to kind of extend the bar all the way off into the bleed, that might do it, to make it look a little bit, more uniform. And then I would even extend it down visually to this line right here. And I think that that could work as well. So if you kind of have like maybe sampled this whitish gray and run it off to the side right there and kind of place the logo in the middle of that, that might help. Know what else you could do that could be fun is if you did that gradient tool and kind of feathered the top of these boxes so they blend into the blue of the sky. That could be fun. You don't really need to. I'm just thinking of some cool things that you could do. For side 2, I think that this works. This body copy, I would left justify this. Or what I would do is just maybe fix the spacing just a little bit so you don't have these 2 words by themselves down at the bottom. But otherwise, I think that this works really well. So good job this week. Yeah. Hey, you know, I mean, I probably didn't type that in the comments, but yeah, every time I look at something, I always see something new. So it's a lot of fun. All right, so let's go on to the next one. All right, so for this one, here's side 1 and side 2. All right, so I think this image right here in the background, good image. I like that the headlines and the subheadlines, the color, the green refers back to the logo. I also like, you know, for the kayak tour, sales and service, I think that that works well for color. And then the black text makes it easy to read. I'm glad that there is the white boxes overlaying. I think it's the correct opacity, so that way you can read the font really well. Again, a couple of other good images that were chosen back here on side 2. What I will say is make sure that you're using those character style sheets, because I can tell that the font does not match throughout. And also, you know, I would make these boxes the same size, and then down here I would try to, again, this goes back to the proximity, keep like items together. So I think that the layout of the text, I think this text needs to stay together. It's a little bit disjointed and it's a little bit difficult to understand where it is that I'm supposed to read. So you want to make sure that you are, you know, keeping like text together. This, even though it's separate boxes, this works a little bit better because everything's in a line. Also, make sure that those images are extended out to your bleed line. This one's not quite getting down to that bleed line. So just some things to keep in mind when you're putting it back together. But again, I think that overall, I like the images that were chosen, and I like, you know, where things are located layout wise. I just think that this panel just needs some reworking. All right, so let me read from the chat. I think that the picture on the front is too large. Do you mean in the front cover? Yes, I agree with you there. I also think that this image is so blown up, I can't really tell. Like, think of this being folded. So the only thing I can do is do something like this. So this is what somebody is going to see when your piece is folded. And if I'm just looking at it real quick, I can't tell that this is a kayak then. So you want to make sure that, you know, that front panel really jumps out at the reader and they can tell right away what it is that they're looking at. So I agree with you. I think that image is a little bit too big. If you zoomed out on that image and you got all of the kayaks in there, I think that would work great. You like the boxes on side 1 and feel there's just too much to follow on side 2. Yeah. And then you would run one long box of the text on side 2 for the guy and the girl. I like that. I like that suggestion. Yes. So just, you know, bringing like maybe do one box here, and then all of that information can go in there, and then you might even be able to kind of maybe bump them over. I can't remember how big this image is. And then have this image and this image kind of running in your center panel. That could definitely work on side 2. All right, awesome. Open up the next one. All right, so for this one, here we have side 1 and side 2. So I like this background that was chosen for this image. I like the yellow. I think it works well over this part of the image. And originally, this wasn't one of my favorite images because this guy's a little bit out of focus. But with the layout of the text on this page, I actually think it works. Again, you know, I like the white background. I think that helps and the opacity helps. But make sure that you are giving your text some breathing room against these borders. It's a little bit close here and here. And again, you want to make sure that you're using those character style sheets because this text, the leading is really close. So you want to space that out a little bit. You've got all this spaced out here. You know, this is a little bit, the lines are a little bit too close as well. So you might need to bump the font down a little bit, and I would make sure visually that these line up at the bottom and the top. And then again, side 2, you know, we've got all this extra space right here. I think that this text can be laid out better. So I think that this needs to, you need to spend some time on side 2 and really, you know, there shouldn't be all this blank space in this panel. So you want to make sure that you're, you know, moving some things around. You know, there's no reason that something can't run, that text can't run across 2 panels. You know, make sure that, you know, these lines are really close to each other. Whale watching goes with the tour package for every taste. It doesn't go with custom adventure. So you want to make sure that, you know, the things that go together are proximity, that they're placed together. But I think that this is a good image that was chosen for the background. And again, I also think that the white box works. I might give a little bit of space on the left-hand side and the right-hand side just to keep that text from running into it. But, you know, I think side 1, you're almost there with side 1, but side 2 definitely needs a little bit of work. So let's see. Let me go over to the chat. You don't like the full background with no spaces on the boxes. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Like you would rather see like a space between the columns here. That would work too. And you like the images that were chosen. Yeah. Okay. So like doing 2 separate boxes maybe to differentiate, because this is our back panel right here. So this is going to be folded. So you're only going to see one side of that border, and then this panel is going to be kind of flipped inside. So, you know, you got to think of how the piece is folded. That's a good point that you made right there. You like the images that were chosen on side 1. It looks really good with the fade. Yep, I definitely agree. And then the first words you see. Were you talking about the first words you see right here, how they're too close together? Yeah, exactly. So spacing that out would definitely help because, yeah, it's running right into the bottom of that line. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that leading. All right, good. Definitely some good tips right there. So thank you. All right, let's bring up number 5. We might actually get through everybody's today. All right, so here is side 1. And side 2. So going back to side 1, I really like this image that was chosen for the front panel. I think that looks great. So I'm going to kind of pull it over. I mean, if you saw this, you know, right there, you know, staring at you from a counter or something, I'd be like, oh, look at this. Like this little kid in a kayak. He looks like he's having a grand old time. I think that's awesome. And then I also like that the, you know, if I flipped it over, here's, you know, the contact information that's visually lined up very well. So I like how that was thought out. And then tour frequently asked questions. Good. I would probably space this information out a little bit more. You know, you could give some extra spacing between, like maybe just an extra return at the body copy, just right here, there's just a lot of blank space. It's not so much that you need to fill the space per se, like, you know, by making the font bigger. I just think that you can give some breathing room between the items, and that will work. So let's look at side 2. So I really like the 3, you know, choosing 3 images up at the top of side 2. I like how that worked, and they're great. The spacing is perfect in between the columns, and then you have the one big image in the background with the 3 boxes. I think that worked really well. Again, you have this extra space right here. I might consider adding the logo to this space right here, so that way when the brochure is open, you know, you're kind of reminded, because you do have the extra space there, that you're reminded of, you know, what the name of the company is and everything else. So I think that could be a good use of that extra space that you have right here. But all in all, I think that this was really, really well designed, and some great great font choices, and also some great color choices as well. So I really like how this came out. All right, so I'm going to go over to the chat. You like the first page's colors, and you also think that the breathing room, like in between the text boxes, will help. Yeah, you know, just a little bit, because you have the extra space. So it kind of goes back to it airs out your design. I like to say that. And then the extra space at the lower, you could even, yes, on side 2, you could even add some extra space here as well, because you have an extra return between these ones. So you can even just, I wouldn't do a full return here because you don't have a full return over here, but you might be able to just add a little bit of space between the lines, or put the logo. I think either option would work. But again, really good design this week. I saw a lot of really great design this week. I'm not even kidding you, from you guys. I just want to say that, you know, for a level 1 course, you guys put out some level 2 designs. So I think you should definitely give yourself a pat on the back this week. You guys did some great work. All right, open up this one. Okay, so there's a couple of people who actually followed the video and did the designs as a 6 panels. So their PDF showed 6 panels. So it kind of is a little bit difficult to visually see it. But you kind of get the idea. So this is the left panel, this is the middle panel, and this is the front panel. And then the same thing, left, middle, and right on side 2. So it kind of sets up the PDF a little bit strangely. Let me see if I can. Might be able to put these together. I don't remember if that does it. No, it doesn't. All right, never mind. I don't even know what I just did to that poor PDF. There used to be a way that you could kind of put them together. I'm sure there is, but I'm not gonna worry about it too much. So I'm gonna go to the front panel first. And this is kind of good because you can kind of look at it at the same time, you know, how it's gonna look when somebody's handling it. So that's good. I love this design. I think that this is, you know, really awesome. There's so much thought that got put into, you know, the graphical elements in this design. I think it looks awesome. I love the color scheme. I love the, you know, the action. Like, look at how, all right, this is where kind of like picking your image and putting things together, and the repetition and just thinking of your angles. You know, the angle right here matches up perfectly with his oar, and look at the spacing between, you know, right here in the orange to the oar and to the top. I mean, like, seriously, great thought went into that. And then, you know, the logo fits perfectly into this area. You've got your headline right here, just spot on design right here. Like, I really enjoy that. All right, and then we have it continues on the back panel. So we have this image I think works great in this area. So I'm trying to get this right in the middle. There we go. Logo again repeated on the back with the address and contact information. I think that this works really well together. And then we have right here for the inside flap, I think that this image works great. And again, we have this element here, and I love it. Also, really good, see, just a thought that went into laying out the text right here. Bumping this over and carrying on visually looks awesome. Go on to side 2. So this is, I believe, the left-hand side of side 2. Again, well laid out. I might even move like complete kayak to the next line to just kind of even out this spacing. I think that might work. And then again, maybe move every to the next line. You don't want to have these they're called orphans, these one word left by itself. Isn't that so sad? On the next on a line by itself. This is good. I like how this was thought out, this keeping this information together, just like the subtle box right there works well. And then custom adventures, and then we have some extra space down here. I might just space this out a little bit more. I think you could probably just, even in the body copy, just bump the body copy spacing, and that might help that. Just a little bit of a tweak, and maybe even, maybe you add like an angle right here and put in a small image. I don't know. I think that there's probably, I think the spacing might take care of that. I know it's kind of hard to see like where they're not next to each other, but this is a little bit distracting. But I think you can fix that by just kind of bumping up the spacing in between the lines right here of your body copy. Maybe even adding like an extra return would probably take care of that. But yeah, overall, I really like this piece. I think this came out great. All right, so I'm going to go over to the chat. You weren't a fan of the one-sided orange border on page 1. The reason why that happened, and I can tell you, is because the other side of the border is would be outside of the bleed. So you would rather see a border right here of orange. You know what? Know what it is it's kind of hard to tell, but this border goes to right here and it matches up right here with this image. Like you can kind of see a sliver of where the fold is. But I'm okay with it, but but I can see where you're coming from as well. You're not a fan of that much green, okay? Which I can understand. I'm personally okay with it. I think it works, but again, personal preference. And you thought it was a very well thought out design with a couple of minor tweaks, and it'd be great. Yep. And you just said that those just aren't your favorite colors. Completely understandable, and I get that. I think it works well because of the colors of the logo, the orange, the blue. Finding a background color that would work with both of those colors, that can be tricky. So I think the green was definitely a bold choice. And I think with these images, it actually does work. So that was a really bold choice. I think most people would have said, there's not a really good background color I can use, I'll just leave it white. So I like that there was, that somebody jumped in with both feet with that green. So I think it was really well done. Don't save whatever I did to that PDF, that poor PDF. All right, next one. So we have side 1 and side 2. All right, so I like this image that was chosen, and this one too, but I think Here's the problem though. These are good images, but if you start to look, you can see the pixelation. They're placed way too big. Let me just zoom in so you can see that. Hold on. So you can kind of see how it's starting to get really pixelated there. So you got to watch how, how large you are placing these images. See how the lines are jagged? That's that pixelation that I'm talking about. So you got to make sure that, you're not placing those images so large that they're starting to get pixelated. So there might be a better image choice, a larger image that's in there that you can pick. I like the layout of the text. If you're going to repeat the logo, I think it should be bigger than it is here. It feels like it's kind of an afterthought down here, and there's not a lot of room for it. So I might choose to not repeat the logo in this panel. I do like where the placement of the contact information is right here, like in between the ocean and the clouds. I think that was a good choice, a good design choice. I like the font choices. Make sure if you have any hyphens, you're moving them to the next page. It can just be a little bit distracting to the eye. Again, this image, I believe that this image is starting to get a little bit pixelated as well. Yeah, you can kind of see the pixelation. So again, there's a couple of other images that can be chosen that are a little bit similar, that are larger images. So make sure that you're picking images that, are the larger ones. I think it's good to repeat the logo and even the contact information on the inside of side 2. I think that was a good choice. I might even do, an image down here, just kind of inset an image. You have this extra space over here. And again, good decision. Just make sure that you're kind of moving those hyphens down. And I'm going to go over to the chat. So maybe play with the gradient a little. Maybe fade it out a little bit more. That's a good option. And yeah, the pics are too big. And then, like you said, put in that gap, because this is where that fold's going to be between the back panel and the inside panel. Yep, good call. But you like the colors. And you said that you were having a hard time seeing the contrast of the logo over the sand. Okay. Oh, the contact info. Yes, I agree. Yeah, I would probably a black lettering would probably help that. So that's definitely an easy fix. So I definitely agree with you there. All right, so we're making our way through all of these. All right, so for this one, we've got side 1 and side 2. All right, I'm going to close this up so you can see the cover. I think that this was a really well-designed front panel. Just on its own, it kind of stands out a little bit more. And I'm just going to mute myself for 1 second. I got to blow my nose again. Allergies. And I'm back. All right. Yeah, I really like I like this border that was added here. I think that that's great. I think that this is a good font choice. And I also love, I don't know if you can tell or if you saw the double image right here. So you got the guy kayaking, and then behind him you have, an opaque kayak photo in the background of it. I thought that was a good design choice. I like this kayak photo running between the two panels and how it gradiates up into the blue, which is also gradient. I think that was good. I like the colors for the fonts. I think that looks awesome. Another good photo pick right here to kind of fill in that space. Side 2, again, I would left justified the text, because what happens with the forced justified text is it actually makes the last line centered, and it's a little bit difficult to read. You kind of want that natural rag that you get on the right-hand side with the left justified text. It just makes it a little bit easier to read. I like the two images that were picked back here. I think that that's good. And I think you could probably maybe bring, although here's the, nope, I think you're good. I think you're good for where it ends. I always have to remember where the cut line is. And I think that you're good where the text ends over here. So I'm going to go over into the chat. Where am I? Oh, you love the colors. They really jump out and they're pleasing to the eye, and you agree on the front panel. It really draws you in, and it's great. Yep. You love the design and the gradation of it. And the picture at the bottom right here, this picture feels a little crowded on page 2. You know what? I can see that because this text is a little bit crowded right here, so maybe you didn't need that extra. Maybe just giving a little bit of space to the text might be a better design choice. I agree. I think that this one works well up here. And you could, you could even then take maybe this column and move it to the center. So you have two columns that just have text with one column that has text and an image in the center to kind of offset it. So there's a couple of different things that you could do to kind of fix that. No, I agree with your assessment on side 2. All right, we got 3 more. So here we have side 1 and side 2. All right, I like this image for side 1. One thing, this PDF does not have the bleed, so this is actually the cut size. So you got to keep that in mind because you'll notice it's not bleeding off. It's all right. It's so you got to make those PDFs with the crops and the bleed marks being shown. But I like this image. It really draws you in. So if you do this, so you can see that front panel, I think I would definitely grab that off of the shelf. But because you got to notice how close that logo is getting to that cut area, you're going to want to shrink up that logo a little bit. However, this information right here is way too small. I can barely see it. So you're going to want to bump up the font size there. You can lose the word website as well. And then also, again, I would left justify that text. I think center justify is a little bit difficult, and you're going to need to give a little bit more space between your columns here because the text is really running into each other, and you run into the you'll run into the problem that when it's folded, it might accidentally fold some of the text from this column. If it goes through the folder incorrectly, it might end up like folding over where the lines of text are, and you definitely don't want that to happen. I've seen that happen, unfortunately, and it can really ruin your piece. Same thing on side 2, just kind of watch those margins and those gutters, and also I would left justify the text. And I think that this could use a little bit more design on side 2. These are sub-headlines, so they should probably be, this is where using those character style sheets comes into play. Ocean adventure tours should be the same as guided wildlife tours or kayak camping adventure tours. So you're going to want to make sure that those stand out. And then ocean adventure tours is actually a headline, so that should be this size. And dolphin watching and whale watching should be this size. So you got to be aware of what your content is and how you're laying that content out. But I think that the back page needs something. I know that we have 3 images here, but it's really lacking any color. So, make sure that you're making those color schemes, based off of your logo and the images, and you're adding some color to your piece. So I'm going to go over into the chat. So you would raise the logo a little on the front cover, like up higher, so it's not so close to this guy's to his head, I'm assuming. Yep. Okay. I think that's a good suggestion. Maybe even line it up with the top of the about us up here. I bet you that would take care of it. You think you could use something, the white on the rest of the pages, it's not as appealing without any color. I agree. And then you think that the pictures help to add some color on side 2, and maybe add some outlines to the columns. That's a good suggestion. So yeah, I think it just needs, keep pushing this one. And I think that eventually it will get there. I would just keep working at it. All right, we have 2 more left. We might get through them. Whoa. All right, so side 1 and side 2. All right, so for side 1, make sure that you're placing those images proportionally. This looks like his face is a little bit long, which leads me to believe he might not have been placed proportionally. And I think that these two, and then this image is a little bit, is too big. So again, you need to find appropriate images that are going to fill the space. I like the placement of the logo, and I can see where this will work, but you have to look, like here's the front cover. So I think if he wasn't placed as big, I think that this picture would still work in this space, and it might actually lend a little bit more to the front cover. So, I think that this is a good image choice. It just needs to be reworked a little. I think that the red over green is a little bit jarring. All of these different colors are a little bit jarring to the eye. I think, maybe white would work in this. When you think of red and green, remember, those are 2 complementary colors. So my eye doesn't really know where to focus. It's like red, green, red, green, red, green. And it reminds me a little bit of Christmas. And then again, down here, the text is getting a little bit lost. But when you rework that image, that might help. And again, this image is a little bit too big, or too, placed too big for this space. So I think if you found a different image, you might find that the text might work a little bit better with a different image as well. So I would keep playing with it. I like the repeat of the logo on the back cover. I think that works. On the inside, again, make sure you're placing those images proportionally. I think that this one isn't scaled proportionally. And both of these images look a little bit blurry. So again, make sure that you're not placing those images more than 120%. This text in this area works a little bit better. I'm questioning this much spacing right here, though, why there's that much spacing. And again, a tour package for every taste. That's a headline. So is custom adventure. So you want to make sure that those fonts are the same size, and they're bigger than the subheadlines. These are subheadlines. And again, I think that the red over the blue is a little bit difficult to see. So just be aware of those color choices. And then I think that this will work a little bit better too if a couple of different images are picked. I think you might have an easier time placing that text over different images. So I'm going to go over to the chat. You like the design, but the contrast on the text is hard to read at times. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's that ultra contrast, can be hard to read. And then the pictures are a little bit blurry, but you like the opacity. You think that goes well with the black text. I agree. I definitely agree. And last one. All right. This one, again, it was set up with the different panels. So I'll just have to, this is the inside flap. This is the back panel, and this is the front panel. And then it goes left, center, and right. So a little bit, I'm going to start at the front cover. So here we have the front cover. Trying to get it to center on my screen. There we go. All right, so I like this image. I like the logo. We've got all of the information. I might want to see this centered better vertically. We've got all this extra space down here, but we're a little bit close up here. And again, when you're making those PDFs, make sure you make those PDFs with your crop and bleed mark set. but I like it's kind of like a subtle blue background, I believe, that was picked, unless if my screen does not look correct and it's white. I'm pretty sure it's a subtle blue. That's the background color. Let me move on to the back panel. So we've got tour frequently asked questions from the back panel. Again, good picture that was chosen. I might start to break up my text color, possibly. I feel like all this information is starting to run together because it's all the same color, and it's all the same size. So I might start to maybe change this. Maybe this text is this green, but the text color set at like maybe like 80 or 90%, just so that way it kind of separates itself from the questions that are being asked. That's a thought. I think black might be a little bit too jarring between the black and the green, but you could just kind of set this to, set that green at 80 or 90%, see how that looks. That might take care of that. Again, make sure that you're using those character style sheets, because this body copy should be the same as this body copy size. And these are subheadlines. So this should be bigger, the tours, than the body copy. So you're going to want to plan accordingly for that. And if that means moving some of the text to different panels, you might actually have to do that. And then again, we've got bold text on side 1, but side 2, this is not bold, this is bold, and this is bold. So again, make sure that you're using those character style sheets so that way you have consistency in the design of your text. And I think, again, I think it's just too much green. So you might want to break it up. And again, these should be subheadlines. So this copy should be larger than the body copy. So, you might actually, I think, using a non-bold font for the body copy, I think reads a bit better. Sometimes bold copy is a little bit hard to read when it's big blocks of text. So you might want to consider using this as your style, I think. I'm going to go over to the chat. You like the opacity. Oh, whoops, that was the other one. You like the front cover. It has a nice contrast. I'm going to go back over to the front cover. I agree. The green looks good on that background. I also agree. And then, yeah, it's mostly just some text inconsistencies in the design, and maybe add some black in places would help. That is a good, definitely a good suggestion. So yeah, I can see that. Maybe even if you, maybe if you even change the body copy, not to 100% black, but maybe 80 or 90%, like a really dark gray would look really good with that green. So that's another option. Just kind of play a little bit with that body copy color, and I think that would really start to come together. All right. So that was the last one, correct? Yes. All right. So again, really good job last week, everybody. I thought I saw some really great designs, and now you've seen what your fellow students are doing. So, keep it up going into week 4. Make sure that you are reading over the critiques that I've given you in your assignment and your assessments for the week. Make sure that you are changing those JPEGs over to either TIFF files or PSD files. And please, please, please make sure you're getting that work in on time. And again, if you are in the hurricane zone, I have a list of students who are in that zone. I have to kind of go into our list and double check and see who might be in the hurricane zone. If you're able to get in touch with me, or if I'm able to get in touch with you, I will do my best to get in touch with you and try to keep you up to date on any information that I receive from the school. If you have a specific question you'd like me to ask, please let me know, and I'll definitely do that for you. Don't forget, our last multi-session is tomorrow from 4 to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. I had to think I'm doing it in Eastern Standard Time, or to 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are running into any problems later on in the week, remember Christy has hours available. You can definitely go in and ask her to double check your designs before you upload them. If you want to see if you know, how kind of get another opinion on how things look, she's great for that. I will be trying to contact students tomorrow. Please make sure if you have an email from me that you're responding to my emails, letting me know what's going on. If you are looking to redo any of your assignments for a better grade, that needs to be submitted by tomorrow at midnight. Any submissions after tomorrow at midnight will not be regraded. And don't forget about the discussion this week and the week 4 career integration quiz and the other quiz. So a couple of things that need to be done this week. So make sure that you're managing your time and getting that work in. And again, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to shoot me an email. And thank you again to my critique buddy in the chat tonight. So that was super helpful. I'm really glad that you stayed the whole time and you were able to do the critique with me. I think that we had a good system going tonight. So thank you. All right. Well, I hope to see you guys tomorrow and have a great night.